Hey guys, Giant Audio Tapes here. I am finally back with a brand new video and a brand new 3-chapter version of Wild Bloods The Hunt. Alright, Chapter 4, Haley's Been Bitten. As we were walking to college, Haley was listening to music, and Gerald and Dishon were passing a football to each other, and Jessica was texting her new boyfriend. I was just walking with my hands in my pocket. We were almost there when we heard a high-pitched noise that was so bad it hurt our ears, but not Haley's. I held my ears shut. I fell to my knees, and so did the others. Dishon dropped the football and fell down to his knees, and Jessica knelt down on her knees and dropped her cell. Ah! We shouted. Haley suddenly turned around, but right before she could speak, her mouth was covered. She was muffled. Her screams could not be heard. One of the vampires injected her with some sleeping dosage and dropped her iPod to the ground, and her earbuds were pulled out of her ears, and she was dragged away. A couple minutes later, we woke up. Looking around, there was no sign of Haley anywhere. I thought the worst. I saw the trail of scent of vampires. I growled. "Let's get Haley back now," I said with a growling voice. Everyone else nodded. Meanwhile, at the vampire hideout, Draco and Luxio were waiting for Haley to wake up. She was chained to a bed. She woke up, her eyes went wide. She wiggled her body a little, but she was stuck in the chains. "Ah, you're awake." "Draco and brother, she's awake," Luxio said. Then Dracon appeared, with his shirt off and his chest scar showing. His eyes were red. Then he laid on the bed, his side right next to Haley. Her eyes shut tight, her teeth clenched together. "What's wrong?" "Don't you know you're the chosen one?" Dracon said. Haley looked at him. Why? Why am I the chosen one?" Haley cried out. Dracon smiled and rubbed Haley's thigh. She started to blush and clenched her teeth. "I smell your blood. You're nervous. This is your first time, huh?" he asked. Haley's eyes went wide. "What?" she said nervously. Then Dracon dropped on top of her, pulled down both of their pants. He thrust himself inside her. "Ah!" She cried out as she blushed. "Stop, please, I don't..." She groaned. "You're the chosen, right? Then you will have my child, and the prophecy will be complete," Dracon said as he thrust into her more. "No, please!" Haley cried out. Luxo didn't turn around, as if this was still normal. Then Dracon thrusted faster and thrusted harder. Dracon groaned. "Ah!" Haley screamed as he pulled himself out, with light liquid pouring out of him and some went inside of her. Blood was coming out a little bit. She started blushing. She was twitching. Her eyes were wide, and she was breathing heavily. Dracon put back their clothes on. Dracon was still shirtless. "Now you will have my child, and we vampires will live forever. But first..." He knelt down to where her private parts were and licked it. Haley moaned. Dracon stopped licking and Haley was blushing. Then Dracon smiled. "I smell your friends. Well, let's go say hi." He unlocked it. Haley and grabbed her and lifted her and pulled her head into a headlock. I walked in and I killed most of the vampires. I was full in hybrid form. So were the others. "Someone help me!" Haley screamed at the top of her lungs. I looked over and Dracon had her in a headlock. "Shut up, human," he said. And without thinking, he bit Haley in the neck, injected his venom into her. She shouted. Then Dracon let her go of her. Haley's veins went black, and she started to jerk, but jerking moved her so fast and quickly he ran over to her. "Haley, look at me. You're going to be okay. I'm going to take the venom out. It's going to hurt, okay?" I said. Then I bit into the spot where she was bitten by Dracon, and slowly but painfully the venom gone, her veins went back to normal. Dracon's eyes went wide. Fall back! They found us! He shouted. He and Luxio and the rest of the vampires left as quickly as possible. I looked down at Haley, and she was asleep. Her skirt was ripped, even her shirt. I quickly got her up and carried her down to the hideout. I laid her back down the bed. She woke up a little bit later. She felt sick, like she went straight to the garbage. Kind of threw up. I ran to her. Are you okay? I asked. She looked at me. Dracon had raped me, she said, looking like she was going to throw up again. Andrew came up. I'll let you have the baby. He or she will be raised by us, okay? He said. Haley nodded. Then we realized we were supposed to be in class. Me and the others went to class. Haley stayed behind. Hoffman and Blux were talking to Haley. Hoffman was touching Haley's belly. Haley chuckled. I smiled and then ran off to class. The next couple months, it was okay. Everyone in school was surprised to see Haley with a pregnant belly. Most of the girls were helping around class. Andrew was making sure that Haley's pregnancy was going through smoothly. Well, then one day, on a Monday, in July. Chapter 5. Haley gives birth and Andrew's proposal. Hey guys, me and Hoffman were thinking about how we're going to name names. How about Vince or Hunter? Haley asked. I think Hunter sounds great, I said. Haley nodded. Haley was sitting in the chair was made strictly for her during the pregnancy. Then Haley began to sweat. I looked at her, concerned. You okay? Hoff and I said in sync. I think it's time. Oh boy. Haley said. Hoffman looked straight at me. Go get Andrew, now, she ordered. I nodded. I went to him and I got him. Andrew was sharpening his knife when I burst through the door. Andrew, the baby, it's time, I said pantingly. He dropped the knife on his bed and quickly ran to Haley and held her hand. Hoffman pulled down the pants to see the birth canal. Just breathe, Haley. You're going to be great. You're doing great. Andrew said, holding Haley's hand, which was squeezing it, his hand hard. This is what it must feel like. Ah! She cried out. I could see the head. Keep going, Haley. He's almost out, Hoffman said. Sweat was pouring down Haley's face. I grabbed a towel and dabbed her face. Ah! Haley screamed as she pushed, and everyone heard a baby crying. It's a boy, Hoffman said. Then the werewolves howled, welcoming the little one. Hoffman did as well. Then Hoffman wrapped Haley's son into a blanket, and Haley put him on her chest. She started to cry. Welcome to the world, little Hunter, she said as tears going down her eyes. Andrew looked at the baby. It was looking at him, a halfling, a human and vampire. He had a little bit of black hair. The baby opened his eyes, and the eyes were red. Then he looked up at Andrew, and then to Haley, and then cried. Haley smiled. He thinks you're the father, Haley said. Andrew smiled. That's because he will be my son, and he's your child too, Andrew said. Then he stroked Haley's sweaty blonde hair. So you're adopting this baby, Andrew? Hoffman asked. Yes, but also. Andrew pulled out a ring out of his pocket. Haley, when I first met you, I did not know humans had a kind heart, but I have learned a lot from you. So I must ask you, will you marry me? He said, lifting the box, holding a ring. Haley had tears going to her eyes. Yes, I will, Haley said. Then Andrew put the ring on the left hand. They kissed passionately. I had tears going down my eyes. Seeing her happy is all I wanted and cared about. Then I remember a person that I was in love with, and he was human. And so I walked out the room, while Haley and others were in awe of the baby. Hoffman noticed and walked to me in concern. Had a concerned look on her face. I was nervous. I was on my bed, holding a makeshift pillow I made using leaves and crow feathers. Tears were downing my eyes. Hoffman slowly walked into my room, sat on the other's bed. "What's wrong? This isn't like you," Hoffman asked. My eyes looked up at her, tears filled with them. "I'm in love with a human male," I blurted out. Hoffman looked at me in shock, and everyone else looked around to see if anyone else heard that. "What's his name?" she asked. "His name is Michael Wolf," I said. Hoffman's eyes went wide. "How long have you been dating? I noticed you were happy. Then you're scared all the time." "You were happy, and then you're scared all the time," she calmly said. "Well, we've been dating since Haley was pregnant with Hunter. And there is so much more than Hoffman," I said, then lifting my shirt. My belly was a bit bigger than normal. Hoffman's eyes went wide. "You too?" she asked. I nodded. "It'll be a half hybrid. I don't know how to tell him. I don't want to expose us for who we are. Werewolves, vampires, hybrids. He won't believe it, and I don't know what to do," I said, crying. Hoffman wrapped her arms around me, and Blux knocked on my door. He walks in and saw what I was a little bit chubbier than normal. "Hey, sis, are you okay? I smell something wrong," Blux said. "I'm okay, Blux. It's Cheyenne. She needs a little bit of support right now," Hoffman said, calmly hugging me. Then Blux still smelled me and said, Is she pregnant? I can smell it off her," Blux said. Hoffman's eye went wide. We both nodded, and I felt a stomach cramp. I felt like I was going to throw up in front of them. I held my hand in my mouth. Hoffman rubbed my back, and Blux grabbed a bucket, and I put it next to me. I threw up a little. Hoffman looked at her brother and took a deep breath. "This is a halfling, as well as the half-human, as well half-hybrid. Don't tell Andrew." "Tell me what?" Andrew's voice popped out nowhere. Three of us looked over at Haley and Andrew, who were standing next to the door. "What's wrong?" Haley asked. I burst into tears and looked at Haley. She walked to me and sat on my bed next to Hoffman, and Hoffman whispered into her ears. Haley's eyes went wide. "Oh, God." Haley said with a voice full of concern, "Andrew, they have something to tell you." Haley said calmly. Andrew sat next to the bed, and I took a deep breath. "I'm in love with a human. I mated with one, and now I'm pregnant with his child." Andrew looked at me with a serious look, and then he sat in there in silence. "Well, he is the father of the hybrid halfling, but he has to live here, away from humans, and has to keep it a secret. Or he'll have to be bitten in order to keep him. Or worse, he'll die. Law says we have to kill him in order to protect our kind's existence. But I'll make an exception. We'll let him be human, and he will be able to live others like himself. And you will be able to live with them. Me and the others will visit you every once in a while," Andrew said with a half smile. I grinned. I heard that Haley and Hoffman had their mouths open, and wide, tears rolling down my eyes. "Thank you, Andrew." I said. Haley and Hoffman hugged me. Then Dishon, Gerald, and Jessica came in the room. "What's going on in here? Is everyone all right?" Dishon asked. Haley nodded. I'm expecting a halfling, I said. Dishon wasn't shocked. Gerald was about to faint. Jessica had a hand over her mouth. What? They all said in unison. Jessica ran up and hugged me hard. Careful, please, I said. Oh, whoops, Jessica said, blushing. I have to tell him. I have to show him my true form. On the next full moon, anyway. Tomorrow. Hopefully you don't try to eat me. This time, I mean, you almost did. Bring him here, and hopefully he'll understand. And he will be locked up with me. But make sure you'll be locked up too, but somewhere else in the security room, back of the cave. Andrew said, pointing at the small door next to my room. Then my stomach cramped up again. Oh, God, give me the bucket, quick, I said. Haley grabbed a nearby trash bucket. I puked up the rest of my raw meat. I'm guessing he doesn't like raw meat. Haley said jokingly. I grinned and smiled back. Thanks. Get some rest. You need it, Hoffman said. Then she and the others walked out, except for Haley. She grinned. So when did this happen? She asked, and her eyebrows raised. She looked at me like she was begging me to tell her the tale. I sighed. All right, if you really want to know. It's going to be a long story. Sit down, I said. She sat down and leaned in, put her hands into a fist, and put them near her face. Then her hazel eyes were just staring at me into my soul. Then I began to recall the tale and when it all happened. It was right after she was about 7 months pregnant. A couple months earlier. Chapter 6. How Cheyenne Became Pregnant. I was doing schoolwork in the cafe while Haley was sitting down drinking some tea, and Dishon and Gerald were running around with a soccer ball in her hand. That's when I saw him. A tall, dark, straight, curly-haired, grey-eyed, a little scruff at the bottom chin. He was wearing a school uniform. I saw something in his hand, a ring with a wolf head on it. My eyes couldn't get off him. I heard Haley's voice repeating my name several times. Cheyenne? Cheyenne, are you okay? Haley asked. I came back into reality. Oh, sorry. What's the matter? Do you need something? Tea? Pillow? Anything? I said nervously. Ewan stared at me. Haley chuckled. What? I asked. You're blushing. Seriously, are you okay? She said. I put my hand down into my brown hair and I tucked my head in a little bit with the side. I gave a smile. Yeah, I'm fine. Anyway, who is that guy? Is he new? I asked. Gerald and Dishon nodded. Yeah, he just transferred. I believe it's Michael. Dishon said. He's kind of cute. Do you like him? He's kind of cute. Do you like him? Haley asked and cooed and laughed. Then I tapped Haley on the arm so hard. Ow! Come on! I was just messing with you. She still had a grin on and smiled back. I don't know. What do you guys think of just for that? I'm going to ask him out, leaving you guys here for a while. I don't know what to do, you guys, and just for that, I'm going to go ask him out. I'm leaving you guys here for a while, I said, winking at them. Then heading off to Michael, I took a deep breath. Before I could even think, I bumped into him. I dropped my books, and he helped me out. I picked him up. My golden yellow eyes met his dark gray, and we instinctively got attracted to each other. I smiled, and he smiled back. Hi, he said. His voice was like an angel, salty, buttery voice. Hi, I said nervously. Sorry about running into you like that, I said. No, it's fine. Here, let me help. He said, helping me with my doctor's exam papers. Ah, so you're becoming a doctor, I see. He said. I nodded. I'm Michael Wolf, and you are? Cheyenne Larson. It's nice to meet you. Did you just transfer here? I asked. Uh-huh. All the way from New York City. He said. I smiled even more. He looked at me, and I smiled back. I always wanted to go to the big city, he said. Hey, I've got to go back to class in an hour. Maybe after that we can hang out and get to know each other more, I said. Sure. I'd like to meet you. I like that. Meet me at my place. He said he wrote down his address and a piece of paper and gave it to me. I smiled. Then me and him went our separate ways. I went back to my table. The rest of them stopped. I stopped in my tracks, and they were staring at me with grins. I looked at them with a confused look. I asked, What? They chuckled. Somebody's in love, Gerald said with the coo, and then Haley hit him on the shoulder. Ha ha, very funny, Gerald. I guess we'll see you guys at the base later. Back at the base later? Haley said. I nodded, and we walked off to class. Back after that. Hey, Michael, how's class? I asked Michael, coming up to him. It's okay, but how was yours? He asked me. Mine was okay. Anyway, on to that date, huh? I said. Michael smiled. Of course. Come back to my place. I responded and followed him back. His house. Me and him were getting along pretty fine. Then he kissed me on the lips. I was caught by surprise. Then I closed my eyes, and we started to make out. My heart began to race, and then I felt my power come over me, a primal feeling. Then me and him landed on his bed. I was underneath him. I shivered because the feeling was so strong. I couldn't help it. He took off his shirt. His body was a medium build, with a lot of muscle. Then he crept closer to my neck and kissed it. I started to blush. I took off my school shirt off. I just had my brown skirt on. Then he pulled down his pants, and I pulled down my skirt, and we started to have sex with him. I blushed even more as he thrusted more and more into me. He thrusted one last time, and he pulled himself out. But some of his light liquid was still in me. That was a bit much for our first date, I said. Was it still red from blushing? Yeah, I know. But now I think we're official, he said. Next day I woke up with a headache. Ugh. I don't feel good. I said, You look green around the gills. Are you all right? Haley asked while sitting in her chair. Maybe you should get some rest, Cheyenne. You need it, okay? Andrew said, holding Haley's hand. I felt nauseous. Huh? Haley and Andrew said in unison. Andrew got up so fast as he could. He grabbed a trash bin and put it near me and started throwing up blood. I'm taking it to the infirmary. You come with me? Andrew asked. She nodded. They both ran back deeper into the hideout. They laid me down. I had blood in my mouth, and they were still coughing. My eyes were squinting shut. I was breathing heavily. The doctor rushed into the room and told them to wait outside. Haley had a weird look on her face as she walked out of the room. Then he took a test with the ultrasound and saw it. The fetus inside my womb. He noticed it was a halfling. Then he gave me some medicine that was safe for the baby that would help me. Then the doctor came out of the room and explained what happened to me, behind the fact I was pregnant with Michael's child. Then Haley walked in the room and knelt down to my side and held my hand. Can you hear me? Look, I don't know what's going on, but I swear to God, don't leave us. You're scaring me. Please be all right. She cried out, tears dropping into the bedsheets. Then Andrew walks in and puts his hand on her shoulder. It's alright. She'll survive. Come on. Let's give her some rest. Well, I hope you guys have an awesome day. That was the first long reading I ever had in my life. I hope you guys are okay today. Love y'all. And hope you have an awesome weekend. And Merry Christmas. It is December 11th, 2021. I hope you all have an awesome day. Be happy, stay happy. Peace out. Mwah. Love y'all and see you later. Peace. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed the audio tape we had on today. If you like it, hit the like button. I really appreciate the time. Subscribe if you're new. Comment down below what you think. And if you notice that I might have new vlogs and more audiobooks on display, just make sure you hit the notification bell to make sure you know every day when I upload. Alright? Hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed day.